Stop for a moment and think about the last time you were truly close to achieving something you desperately wanted. A promotion, a relationship, a creative project, a life-changing opportunity. Now think about what happened next. Did you suddenly find reasons to delay? Did you discover flaws in your plan? Did you convince yourself you weren't ready? Did you somehow pull back? If you're honest with yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That moment when success was within reach and some invisible force inside you whispered, "Not yet. Not you. Not now." Here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not afraid of failure. You're terrified of success. And this terror is destroying your life in ways you refuse to acknowledge. Most people think self-sabotage is about laziness or lack of discipline. But it's actually something far more sinister. It's your psychological immune system rejecting the very thing you claim to want most. And until you understand why, you'll keep repeating the same destructive patterns, watching opportunities slip away while convincing yourself it was just bad luck. The ancient Greeks had a word for this phenomenon, hubris, but they misunderstood it. They thought hubris was about arrogance toward the gods. In reality, hubris is about the terror of becoming godlike yourself. The fear that if you actually achieved your potential, you'd have to live up to it forever. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this clearly when he wrote about the eternal return. The idea that you must live your life as if every moment would repeat infinitely. Most people recoil from this concept, not because they fear their failures repeating, but because they fear their successes repeating. They fear the responsibility of being consistently excellent. Consider this. When you were a child, did your parents celebrate your achievements, or did they worry about you getting too big for your britches? Were you praised for standing out, or taught to stay humble? Most of us learned early that success comes with a price. The loss of love, belonging, and safety. Your brain, evolved for survival in small tribes, still believes that standing out means being cast out. So it creates elaborate defense mechanisms to keep you safely mediocre. Because mediocrity is safe. Mediocrity is accepted. Mediocrity lets you belong. But here's where it gets twisted. You don't just fear success. You become addicted to the drama of failure. The near misses, the last-minute disasters, the pattern of almost but not quite. It gives you something to blame, something to fix, something to obsess over. It keeps you busy without requiring you to actually succeed. Dr. Gay Hendricks calls this the upper limit problem, the unconscious mechanism that sabotages you whenever you exceed your internal thermostat for how much success, love, or happiness you believe you deserve. But Hendricks doesn't go deep enough. This isn't just about deserving. It's about identity. Who would you be if you actually succeeded? Really think about this. If you get everything you said you wanted, who would you become? Would you still be relatable to your friends? Would your family still love you? Would you still have problems to solve and struggles to overcome? For many people, success feels like death, the death of their familiar, struggling self. And humans would rather stay in familiar misery than risk unfamiliar joy. Viktor Frankl, who survived Nazi concentration camps, observed something remarkable. People don't actually want to avoid suffering. They want suffering to have meaning. And self-sabotage gives your suffering the most seductive meaning of all, the meaning of what could have been. Every failure becomes evidence of your hidden potential. Every setback becomes proof that you're special, just misunderstood or unlucky. Self-sabotage lets you maintain the fantasy of greatness without the responsibility of actually being great. But there's an even darker layer to this. Self-sabotage isn't just about fear, it's about control. When you sabotage yourself, you're the one making the choice. You're not rejected. You reject first. You're not abandoned. You abandon first. You're not a failure. You're someone who chose not to try. It's the ultimate illusion of power in a world where you feel fundamentally powerless. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming one of Rome's greatest teachers, understood this intimately. He wrote, "No one can hurt you without your permission." But he could have added, "And no one can save you without your permission either." Your chains aren't forged by circumstances, society, or other people. They're forged by your own hands in the dark forge of your unconscious mind, and you hold the key to every lock. Here's the pattern you need to recognize. Self-sabotage always happens at the threshold, not at the beginning of the journey, when failure is expected, and not at the end, when success is certain. It happens at the crucial moment when success transforms from possibility to probability. That's when your internal alarm system activates. That's when you suddenly remember all the reasons it won't work. That's when you discover urgent distractions. That's when you find evidence that you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. The sabotage feels rational. It feels like wisdom. It feels like self-protection, but it's actually self-assassination, the murder of your future self by your current self. And here's the cruelest irony. The more talented you are, the more sophisticated your self-sabotage becomes. Mediocre people sabotage themselves with obvious behaviors: procrastination, addiction, laziness. But gifted people sabotage themselves with perfectionism, over-preparation, and the endless pursuit of more credentials, more knowledge, more readiness. They never feel ready because ready would mean having to perform. And performance means the possibility of both success and failure, both equally terrifying. Soren Kierkegaard called this the anxiety of freedom. The dizzying terror of realizing that you're free to become anything, which means you're responsible for becoming something. Most people collapse under this weight and choose the comfortable prison of self-limitation. But here's what they don't tell you about success. It's not actually the destination. It's a doorway. And what you're really afraid of isn't walking through that doorway. It's what you might find on the other side. You're afraid you'll discover that success doesn't fix you, that achievement doesn't complete you, that reaching your goals doesn't eliminate your problems. It just gives you different problems. Problems that successful people have to solve without the comfort of blaming circumstances. And you're afraid you'll discover something even more terrifying, that you're capable of more than you ever imagined. That your potential is larger than your current identity can contain. That success might not be the exception in your life, it might be the rule. What if you stop failing not because you learned to overcome obstacles, but because you learned to stop creating them? What if your struggles aren't proof of life's difficulty, but proof of your own resistance to your own power? The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu wrote, "The sage does not attempt anything very big, and thus achieves greatness." This isn't about thinking small. It's about understanding that the biggest obstacle to your success isn't external resistance. It's internal resistance. Your fear of success isn't noble humility. It's spiritual arrogance disguised as modesty. It's the arrogance of believing you know better than life itself what you're capable of. It's the arrogance of protecting the universe from your full potential. But what if your success isn't about you? What if the things you're meant to create, the people you're meant to help, the problems you're meant to solve, what if they're waiting for you to stop hiding? What if your self-sabotage isn't just hurting you, but hurting everyone who could benefit from what you have to offer? What if your fear of being too much is actually a form of selfishness? The selfishness of withholding your gifts because you're more committed to your comfort than to your contribution. Here's the paradox that changes everything. The moment you accept that you're afraid of success, you're already succeeding. Because recognizing the pattern is the first step to breaking it. And breaking it doesn't require courage, it requires honesty. The honesty to admit that you've been lying to yourself about what you want. The honesty to acknowledge that you've been more invested in your excuses than your achievements. The honesty to face the fact that your biggest enemy isn't the world. It's the part of you that's terrified of your own greatness. Success isn't something you achieve despite your fear. Success is what happens when you finally become more afraid of staying small than of becoming large. When you become more terrified of wasting your life than of changing it. The question isn't whether you're capable of success. The question is whether you're brave enough to stop preventing it. Whether you're ready to fire the internal saboteur who's been running your life from the shadows. Your future self is waiting for you on the other side of your fear. But they can't come back to save you. You have to walk toward them. And every step you take toward your own success is a step away from the person you've been pretending to be. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. The only question is, how much longer are you going to pretend otherwise?